taking that strategy to execution is often where the wheels fall off the cart. You're just moving to the other side of the equation
Yeah.
from solving the problems with technologies to defining the problems to be solved.
Yeah.
The company was measuring the pipeline growth, but not measuring the losses.
Welcome back to the Leadership Puzzle. If you've spent any time in leadership, you probably have been through a scenario where growth stalls, execution slips, maybe quality suffers. The teams are starting to get stretched, and the leaders start asking, why isn't this working the way that we expected or the way that it used to? Well, today's conversation answers that very question. My guest is Wendy Warner, who has spent her career helping organizations close the gap between direction and results. And what I appreciate about Wendy's perspective is she doesn't start with any internal fixes. She forces leaders to step outside of their own walls and see the business through the eyes of the customer. This outside-in view shapes how strategy is set, how execution is designed, and ultimately, how talent and culture either sustain growth or cause it to break down. All right, Wendy, welcome to the Leadership Puzzle. I have been anticipating getting you on the show, so thank you for joining us today.
No, thank you for having me.
All right, so you have a really fascinating career journey. You didn't start out in the commercial side of business. You actually began your career as a chemist, a PhD chemist at that.
I did.
So, let's start there. How did you get from being a chemist to being this amazing commercial leader? So yeah, just tell us about your background.
Yeah, thank you very much. I definitely do not have a linear path to my career. I started out as a PhD chemist, and now I'm a transformational growth leader. So go figure, right? I always had a passion, Jeff, for solving problems and connecting dots. So I set out to be a forensic chemist for the FBI. And upon completion of my PhD in analytical chemistry, there was a hiring freeze, a federal
Oh,
hiring freeze. I had bills to pay, so I had to pivot, like a lot of people. So I entered the workforce as an application scientist in the environmental field. And then a
interesting.
few years later, moved into B2B manufacturing, largely nonwovens, advanced materials, and packaging, which is where I've spent the last 20 years.
Got it.
So I think that early in my career as a technologist, what I really learned was kind of the value of discipline and rigor, right? You, as a scientist, you start out defining the problem, what success looks like, and charting a path to achieve results, right?
Yeah, right, right.
And so upon reflection, I think that formed the model of how I operate, as I progressed in my roles, technical and leader, regardless of whether you're launching a new product or expanding into a new geography. You start by defining the objective, creating a plan, and executing. So I think being able to do that and be resilient, like learning to, when things don't work out, kind of step back, bring your team and step back and say, all right, what new inputs do we have? What options do we have? Let's, okay, try again and manage expectations,
Yeah.
right? Which is key. I think that discipline and rigor and resilience is what enabled me to really grow in the technical area and then pivot it and apply it to the business side of, growth in commercial roles.
That makes so much sense. I mean, no offense to the engineers and chemists that I know that have that kind of
None taken.
rigorous mindset, systems root cause, hypothesis, and
Right.
but they're not usually that, hey, let me get out in front of people and try to sell them on my product. how did you find that it's like, oh yeah, I actually have a knack for this?
I think it's about connecting dots. I think I learned early on the technical side to really understand what objective we had, what problem we were solving for. I had a I was a new business development director early in my career on the technology side.
Yeah,
And in that role, Jeff, we were tasked, my cross company team was tasked with scaling a technology from bench to commercial in two regions to deliver a higher barrier non-woven for the commercial team. We were retrofitting it on existing assets. And while it was a technical role, there was a lot of connecting dots between the commercial needs, the technology solutions, how you integrate that into operations, and really managing expectations top down from directors, CEOs down to the shop floor
sure.
of what needed to be done and what role everyone had in it. And so I think that's where I learned the art or that
Hmm.
learned that I had a knack for connecting the dots and delivering results. And I think
Yeah.
that's what was noticed, and that's what led to being tapped repeatedly across my career.
That that statement around, you were able to get the results, you were able to identify what needed to happen, but then turn it into the results. There's an art and a skill that goes on that. And I come across a lot of people great at identifying what the problems are and even some of the solutions that would solve those problems, but they can't drive the results.
Right,
And I know others who can drive that result, but
right.
they couldn't come up with a creative solution if their life depended on it. So, I mean, I love that you've connected those two, and it's proven really valuable in your career.
Right. I think it's not strategy, it's not execution, it's both. It's
Yeah,
being able to understand where you're going and connect it with the resources and capabilities needed to deliver and drive it from end to end. You
yeah,
can get dizzy sometimes going from 30,000 feet down to
yeah,
the blade to back up. But you need to do both to be
yeah,
successful.
yeah. When I was at a PE firm that didn't have enough resources, everything kind of you wear multiple hats, and so I
Right.
came up with this imagery. It's like, okay, I had one hand in the mud. I'm planting the tomatoes, and I got the other hand reaching for
Right.
the stars, and any
Yep.
day I'm getting stretched in both directions.
I love that one. That's great. Yep.
Just staying on that theme, you and I both have worked with organizations that have had great strategies, at least
Right.
on paper, right?
Right.
They have that one, here's my strategy on a page.
I've
Um,
seen a few, written a few.
yeah, yeah, and then inevitably it's like, oh, we didn't quite, hit our results. So, you've seen how to connect that dot of strategy, results through growth. Where do you see it break down the most?
Right. I love that question because, as an important aside, I've been talking to a lot of people over the last year and a half with all the uncertainty in the market, Jeff. And I keep hearing we're not growing like we need to, right? We need more hunters, or we have a great strategy, but our volume's eroding. Like, what's going on? So I think I've seen and think there's four domains or categories where strategy breaks down. It's either in, the market and customer understanding, translation of that strategy to execution capabilities, or organizational structure and talent. So, you know, it could be they think they have a strong strategy, but do they really understand? Do those companies, do our company really understand what where the market's going, what the customer needs, and the right to win. Do you really have a right to win? I think that's an important aspect to look at versus the competition. You might have a really unique technology, but is it really that much better than the competition and have a
Yep.
strong value proposition?
Yep.
I think a lot of it that usually tends to be fairly close if someone has a strategy, in place. Taking that strategy to execution is often where the wheels fall off the cart. Maybe the
Right.
strategy is clear up here, but it's not translated top
Yeah.
down. Maybe the folks on the floor, the managers, even the directors, maybe aren't quite clear on what the priorities are, um, or the functions aren't working well. No one person takes a product to market or
Oh,
services a
yeah.
customer. It's a
Yeah.
cross-functional team sport.
Yeah.
Um, Usually, if there's a strong strategy in place, the capabilities are in place, at least currently. But you always have to ask yourself the question, are you making the right decisions along the way and investing in the right things in alignment with the strategy to defend and grow, not
Yeah.
just grow? Because if you're defending the core, and I think that's where I see companies, I've seen this in the past,
Mm.
a miss,
Yeah.
right? You assume that the core is going to stay stable and you're
Yeah.
focused on the growth, but the core is leaking out the bottom.
Yeah.
And of course, talent. You have to have the right roles, the right people in the roles, and the right systems.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where I see the four categories.
No, that's I think that's I the when you're talking about, kind of, you know, companies just really defending the core and almost they can almost forget about growth.
Right,
Um, I worked at Intel, and for a long time it was we're pushing. They were I don't know who coined it, but at one point, the street thought of Intel as the largest single cell organism, because really all they made were computer chips. Um,
right,
but they made them better than anyone else in the world, and they kept pushing it and pushing and pushing. And while the core didn't grow because they already had, I don't know, 80% of the market share, they were able to, defend that
right,
until they forgot how to defend the core.
right,
And now Intel's in a mess. But so that's just, you know translating in my mind. It's like, oh wow, they got almost fat, dumb, and happy, on and thought, oh, they're not going to be able to lose the 80% market share. Well, guess what,
right.
kids?
That's the inward focus,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
think it's what I've seen in the nonwovens packaging space. If you're too inwardly focused, going, I have these great technologies, we're making these great products, people are buying them. It's too inward, and not enough looking out. What's really going on in the market? Is it contracting? Is our customer losing share, or are we losing share
Yeah.
to the competition?
Yeah.
Right. So it's looking outward and then in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because I could think, oh well, what could HR to do about that? We'll talk about how people intersects with all of this, um,
Right.
uh, but but
They're at the
first,
core for
They
sure.
they are they are certainly at the core, but first, you've created this really fascinating model and way of thinking, um, that can help organizations, with their growth.
Right.
You call it Sora, and so, why don't you share what Sora is, and how organizations, and this is a model that doesn't matter what part of the organization you're in, whether it's HR, whether it's, finance or IT. Understanding the core components will help you be a better business leader.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And I touched on it just a minute ago. I coined SORA, which is solution oriented relationship approach. to capture a fundamental shift that I think is needed to grow, which is a shift from inside out thinking to working outside in, right? And I came upon this thought process or this model early in my career. If I tell a quick short story, I did 19 years at Polymer Group Incorporated, PGI. We grew from a $600 million company to a $2 billion company through two PE turns, and then it was acquired by Berry Global and became a $8 billion and much larger now. Anyways, during that second turn, Jeff, Blackstone was our owner, and we went through major inorganic growth, several acquisitions over 4 years, and then the expectation shifted to organic growth. And we faced a few challenges. The commercial team didn't, and technical team didn't fully understand our full range of capabilities because we were a group of companies. And customers wanted to know. Our compass wasn't really clear. I mean, we had a compass, but not really how to get where we were playing or should be playing. And our interactions with customers were really transactional, really reactive. So we went through strategic planning, value selling, project management, all these great trainings and tools that I learned early on.
Right.
But the one that was really most I saw as a critical enabler and uniter of employees and functions was value selling, because it taught us, and I was already doing it to some extent based on roles I had before, but it had the whole organization looking at what's going on in the market, what do our customers really need, and asking those questions first, and then aligning the capabilities and resources against what
Yeah.
matters most.
Yeah.
And I think that shift really got everyone, one, it made us a better partner
Yep.
to our customers, made us more aware of our competitive advantage so we could leverage it. But internally, it got everyone talking the same language and asking similar questions, which then enabled momentum.
Yeah. Hey everyone, as we take a pause from this episode of Leadership Puzzle, I wanted to take a quick moment to share a bit about how we here at Evolve HR Solutions help your organization grow. We do a whole lot more than executive search. We also partner in HR consulting and leadership development. We work closely with your teams to design training, coaching, and development programs that turn good leaders into great ones. So whether it's helping your HR team navigate change or AI, or more importantly, build a leadership development pathway that fits your unique culture, we're here to help you grow from within. Because we know that only 30% of leaders have had any formal training whatsoever. So maybe it's time to let Evolve HR Solutions help solve that challenge for you. So if you'd like some more information, visit us at evolvehrs.com. That's evolvehrs.com. We look forward to talking with you soon. And now back to the program. So you get this direction from Blackstone, inorganic growth. We got to go. You have the right strategy. Were there any challenges that you saw that could actually be learned or leveraged for other companies on where those the breakdowns happen, because they always do,
Right.
So how do you overcome that? Executives going, hey, we're just gonna will this into existence, or we're just gonna plow through, which
Right.
in short bits that might work, but not long term, really strategic growth. So how do you get this into that repeatable execution that every
Right.
organization can just grab a hold of?
That's a great question. That's a really great question. I think I need to write an article on that and give it more intense thought, concise thought. But here's some initial thinking. What's really important when defending your business and driving growth, I've seen, is that you have one company mindset. So everybody's working together,
On the same page.
right? You have a compass that everyone understands top down, and people understand what their role is in the success of defending and growing the business. I think that's at the core. And then it's a matter of setting the organizational structure and systems to support that. So whether that's, and to me, that's usually a cadence that makes sense, whether that's pipeline reviews, strategic initiatives reviews, monthly and quarterly meetings,
Yep.
but it's setting the right cadence to focus and measure on what's working and what's not working so you can learn from it.
That's key.
Right.
How many leaders, senior leaders, have you worked with or worked for that at some point they just stuck their head in the sand and said, "Don't tell me any bad news," you
Right.
know?
Don't want to know, just fix it. Yep, I've heard that.
Yeah.
And two, a lot of I made this change for one of my teams in the past. The company was measuring the pipeline growth, but not measuring the losses.
Yeah.
So, that's just one of those knobs. Yeah.
I think that's an important distinction. And I hadn't necessarily thought about it. But probably the losses and what happened.
Right.
People don't necessarily like it, that kind of post-mortem of why didn't this happen.
Right.
You could actually learn from more than necessarily the success.
Exactly. Exactly. Because maybe somebody got some insight from a customer meeting that they didn't bring internally because it wasn't part of the cadence of bringing in insights from the customers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I completely agree with you, Jeff.
So you talk about this structure and the cadence and all of these things, but all that is really predicated on one key aspect, and that's people,
The people.
right?
Yes.
So, so you know, you can see the book behind me, the talent advantage. You and I have talked about this. You actually connected those two. Um, so
Right.
where do you think the work that I've done in the talent advantage and the work that you've done on Sora, how do they kind of fit together?
Right. I see them as puzzle pieces that fit together. Sora is about really understanding the market and the customers. So you're focusing on what matters most. The engine is like the taking the strategy to execution and aligning the resources. And the talent is really making sure that you have the right roles and the right people and the right culture
Hmm.
as well.
Right.
Um, if if I may share just another short story from
Absolutely.
those Blackstone days, culture was a place that we started maybe before even the talent piece, right? Accountability, collaboration, and customer centricity. So we coined say do. Actually, Joel, the CEO at the time, coined say do. Whatever we say we're going to do, we do it. And when things go wrong or go differently, you raise your hand and you say, I can't do what I say I'm going to do because X. And, we work on it together. So that united the people as well as the a behavior expectation of, called it FUFA. At first, it was fast, united, focused, and accountable. And everybody laughed about it. Then I think they realized that running fast in the wrong direction wasn't helpful. So they switched it to focused, united, fast, and accountable. Um, but that really set an expectation that the talent was to work together to deliver to service the customer. So the culture piece of your book resonated with me as well as the talent that really talent is a strategy. I hadn't thought about it that way before. That was my like light bulb moment. It's like, okay, Zora, the focus, the engine, make it happen, and the talent is a strategy that really accelerates growth together.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
ah, makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really easy to forget that if that that people can be that competitive advantage and probably are the competitive advantage of an organization because it's the people that are coming up with the new innovations, the people that are going
Right.
out and building the relationships to sell the product. It's people that are manufacturing, on the manufacturing floor and building it and shipping it and supply chain, all that stuff. And
Exactly.
and you know, for all the hype on AI, it's still going to be people doing a lot of that stuff. The
Right.
most important stuff, anyhow.
It's the relationships and making the customers feel like you care and you understand them.
Yeah.
You understand them and you're making sure that yeah, they're getting what they need. And AI can help you redo it better.
Yeah. 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 All the system tools and all those good
Right.
things that you talked about, if you don't have the right people who
Right.
can who actually have the right mindset, you hit it, the culture, right? It's behaviors, it's mindset, it's
Yep.
values, it's that accountability. How are we going to do this? Um,
Right.
so
I
many.
liked in your book the baseball team analogy.
Um,
They had all these kids on the team, and playing whatever role they wanted to play, and the team was losing, right? But once they figured out which ones were had talent in different places, obviously, then you could you said it better than I'm saying it right now, but you can figure out who's the best pitcher and catcher and
yeah,
shortstop, and really hone the skills to be strong and build strength in those areas, and the team
yeah,
started to win. So
yeah.
similar in business.
There's a lot of people that I've seen over my careers that they fit the culture really well, but they just weren't they're just struggling at their job. And
Right.
it's rare. A few times I've seen where you had a leader that was willing to take a chance to say, hey, maybe you would be better in this.
Right.
And when that happens and they get in the right seat,
Yeah.
it's just as long as the culture fit is there, get them in the right seat, and
Right.
all of a sudden they can just do some amazing things. Um,
Yep.
unfortunately, it's oh, you're not performing, so out you go.
Right, right. I have seen that in the past in my career. I have an example in my mind. Just amazing, amazing person, not well placed,
Yeah,
right? And there was flagged performance in that role was flagged. And I said, all right, let's take a look at this, right? And it turned out that they were not in the right spot. And once they were moved, they excelled.
yeah.
Um, yep.
Of course, not every organization is large enough to be able to give folks opportunities in places that they might really thrive, but um, so but I think every leader should be looking at the talent and going, okay, yeah, maybe you're not like wildly successful in this role, but if they really fit the culture and um
Right.
they bring something to the table, maybe it is just give them the right tools, but and then put them in a place that they're going to be super successful.
Right. And actually, that brings up a couple thoughts of mine. One is, and this it took me, in my first management role many, many years ago. I assessed the talent, looked at the talent, but what I needed to learn to do was look at the roles first. What is it that we need in order to be successful? And then do
Yeah,
we have the right talent? So that was a learning early in my career. And we still always have to remind ourselves we have sometimes we have these great people, but what is it that we need, not just now, but for the future? Say we want to
yeah,
go into a different market. Do we have someone that knows that market? Do we have the technology to go into that market? Right. But we need to look at the talent for the future, which is a key element in the book as well.
Yeah.
Um, when enabling success for of growth, right?
Yeah. No.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, two things that come to mind. One is, you know, eh, when you were that analytical chemist and
yeah,
analytical chemist,
analytical chemist, yeah,
um, you can
long
tell how
time
much.
ago.
Yeah, you know how much I know about chemistry, but
Right.
um, you would not likely get a sales leader from another organization look at you and go, "Oh, Wendy would be an amazing commercial leader, growth leader for us," right? I mean, it's just
Right.
because of the frame of reference. So, I mean, it's great that you had someone inside your organization that went, "Oh,
Right.
there's something that well, Wendy's really good at this. She could be
Hmm.
really great at this growth leader." So
Right.
that's kind of the first thing.
And I think that step, it's not common, but I would think, and I have no data on this, other than some reference points, right? For folks that do move from technical into commercial, there can be a stop in product management, right? Because
Yeah,
you're really then, I look at getting products to market as almost, three-legged stool. There's marketing, there's sales, and there's the technical, and you connect those dots. So you're just moving to the other side of the equation
yeah,
from solving the problems with technologies to defining the problems to be solved.
yeah,
Right. So
yeah,
that was the stop that I made in a large role before going on to commercial, full
yeah,
commercial roles.
yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting, interesting. Um, that then the other thought, you talked about the talent you're going to need in the future, and that is, I get it. Sometimes it's really hard for an organization who is, struggling with cash flow or just trying to figure out
Right.
how they're going to grow today, to think about if we're really going to um, take the market a year from now, we need this particular
Yeah.
capability in our organization. And I mean, I remember uh, when I was uh, chief talent officer, I sat down with a leader and they said, "Oh, we want to get into this new technology market that had no experience, but the
Yes.
R&D team had started working on a product that looked really, really promising. So they were like, okay, we're going to get into this market. We know we're going to get into the market. I said, great. Let me go find someone that can help start doing
Right.
the business development and building the reputation of the organization to be a player a year from now or 2 years from now when the product is ready.
Right.
And uh, like, oh, we just can't, so did a search. They found someone they really liked, and then they backed off to, no, we're not, we're just not going to spend
We're
the
not
money.
going to do it.
And guess what? two
What
years
happened?
later, yeah,
Yeah.
2 years later, they came to me and said, we need somebody. I'm like, 2 years
I
ago.
And so they just delayed the entry or the growth in that space
That's
two
right.
years. An idea popped into my mind as you were sharing that story. It's almost like you need a business case for hiring of talent, right? Sometimes you would do this for a capacity expansion or process
Yeah,
improvement, right? If you don't do this, what's going to happen to the existing business? Maybe the core will erode. If you do it, you can grow, right? What happens if you don't hire that talent, right? What's the risk of not hiring the talent, the risk
right.
to the impact of that growth initiative? Or so it's almost like you need a mini business case or ROI on what happens when you do it, how quickly does it pay,
Yeah,
or what happens if you don't? What do you
yeah.
lose if you don't do it? And kind of painting that picture.
It's that opportunity cost. And
Yes, that's the word. Thank you. It's
you
easier
know
said than done now.
and in this case, that I don't remember what the salary, $150,000 a year salary,
Right.
um, delayed and entering the market 2 years. So essentially 2 years worth of
Wow.
salary, $300,000, delayed millions per year, 2 years. So
20% margin on a, $500,000.
it was going to be like
Yeah.
50% margin. And you just kind of sit there and you kind of go, oh, you know what? That was a real big miss, kids.
Right, right. I agree with you. I do.
But I like that, certainly something that HR and talent leaders don't think about as they're helping their leaders think through their organization and the capabilities that they need. They're not always thinking about, all right, what's the ROI, but what's that opportunity cost that you lose if you
Right.
don't bring that capability into the organization in time.
And you could look at it as advice to give, talent that's looking to join a certain organization as well, a way of framing the value that they can bring.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, okay, let's see. So, you know, uh, I am pretty sure your view of leadership has changed as you have gone from, R&D to product development to growth.
Yeah.
Um, so, you know, how is the way that you view leadership and the importance of leadership today versus maybe when you first joined and started managing people and if there's one thing you could share about that aspiring leaders might need to know now to avoid the mistakes that you made
One thing, one thing.
too.
Okay. This isn't part of my one thing, but as I did progress in my career, of course, the scope and scale changes, right? From singular projects to multiple to, overall businesses. I would say that a a core lesson that I learned that I think is critical is that to be successful in delivering results, it's not just about setting the plan and working the plan. It's bringing people along, like helping them understand and leading through change and managing expectations,
Yeah.
right? So it's bringing the people along and helping them understand, what role they have in the success, right?
Yeah.
Many benefits to that: focus work, engagement, etc. So I think that's really important. And as you move in your career from projects leadership to business, I think, prioritization becomes key. Having the systems to really prioritize and focus, resources on the right thing. So it's no longer about doing the work yourself as a subject matter expert. It's setting the compass, it's creating an environment for people to be successful and tooling them so they can be confident in what they do.
Yeah, I mean, if you are
I think that was
truly,
three, but I'm not sure.
yeah, well, it hit me that if you're able to really delegate the work and trust the employees to do what they're skilled and capable of doing, then
Right. Yes.
then um, I know it's probably overused, but there's a force multiplier of the team,
Yes.
really hitting that stride, and everyone's doing what they're designed and capable of doing, and you can get a whole
Right.
lot more done that way than
Exactly.
than too many leaders hold on to it. Right? They're just like, oh no, it'll just
Exactly.
be easier for me to do.
Now it's a
Yeah,
team. Yeah.
maybe right now, but next week you may not have time to do it. Take the time to train the person and delegate it today.
Yes. And I often say that I enjoy growing businesses, delivering results. I also now, later in my career, enjoy growing people, and I've realized that I've come to really see that. I was probably doing it naturally, but now really see that that's part of my responsibility,
Yeah,
to it's not uncommon to be on the phone, 10 o'clock the night before a business review. If I see someone online and I know they're working, they're preparing for that review
yeah,
and they're stressing, right?
yeah,
So get on the phone, help them, because making them more comfortable with what they're doing, confident and successful makes the overall company and business more successful.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Too many leaders forget the fact that if your employee shines, that that light
right.
hits you too, right? So you
Yeah,
get the benefit of your employees being top talent. So, you know, always get people that are better than you, that
right.
who will at some point maybe surpass you, but not today, but you
Right.
get the benefit of that.
You have to be willing to hire the right people, even if they're better than you should hire
Yeah,
people that are better
yeah,
than you in
yeah.
certain areas. During leadership training decades ago, I think it was our divisional president said, he talked about casting the shadow, right? And people are watching you as you rise and you have leadership roles. People watch you. They watch how you behave. What you type of um, culture you're creating, how you handle, challenges, right? And they're looking at how you behave and they're mimicking that. So it's really important throughout your career
Yeah,
to create that environment for people to be successful, not just yourself. It's not
yeah,
about you anymore.
yeah. Well, and the probably the truest test on how well you are as a leader is when you move on
Yeah,
years down the road, someone comes and says, "Hey, I want to come work for you again. I see you have an opportunity." And
right,
I mean that's just it's like, oh, okay, I did something right.
right, right. Or when they call you and they're like, we miss you, or we launched that product that we started together with you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with you, Jeff.
Oh, that's great. Well, I think this is a great topic to end on. Unfortunately, Wendy, we've run out of time. Uh,
Okay.
but this conversation has far exceeded anything that I had even hoped in, and so it was great. So thank you for coming in and talking about Sora and the growth engine and just your wisdom of how to help organizations grow and how that gets tied to people. Thank you.
Well, no, thank you for inviting me. I really enjoyed the book, and I really do see how they all fit together. And I'm always happy to share my experiences. I was fortunate to have some good ones early on in my career,
Yeah.
and love bringing them forward.
No, fantastic. Well, hey, if you've enjoyed listening to Wendy, feel free to reach out to her on LinkedIn, connect with her. She's got a lot more wisdom to share, and just thank you for spending time on the Leadership Puzzle with us. And if this episode really resonated with you, share it with another leader who's navigating growth challenges. And we'll see you next time. But don't forget to subscribe and like so you never miss an episode. See you next time.